Given that the noble virtues of compassion and solidarity with the poor and needy are hallmarks of Tobaski, which are also shared by all major religions of the world, we must all cherish them at all times for the benefit of mankind and not only during Eid al-Adha. Fellow Gambians and friends of the Gambia, whilst aspiring to become an ultra-modern state, we should also protect and preserve our Islamic values at any cost with discipline. In principle, borrowing from foreign norms, values and technologies that are in line with the teachings of Islam, among others, should not be a problem. What, in my view, will be a problem is the wholesale transplantation of foreign values to the detriment of our core spiritual values, as this in effect will lead to our cultural extinction as a nation. We should be able to borrow good values and technologies and adapt it to our local values in our development process without obliterating ours. In a nutshell, our spiritual values, first as Muslims, and cultural norms as Africans cannot and will not be secondary to any foreign or alien cultural values, despite our quest to build an economic superpower. If other nations, such as the Asian tigers, who were colonized in the same way as us, were able to do it, why can't we? Asian tigers developed a disciplined workforce and adapted foreign technologies to the Asian values without compromising their core values. It is important to note that development is always colored by strong moral values, and in order for us to achieve sustainable development, we must stick to our own spiritual values and norms. After all, as Muslims, our values can only be derived from the teachings of the Holy Quran and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as these constitute the values set by our Creator, the Almighty Allah, to whom we shall all return one day without fail. I hereby urge all Muslims at home and abroad to stick to our Islamic values without compromise, irrespective of where we are and irrespective of our social status. We should always remember that one day we shall return to face divine judgment by our Creator. This worldly life is just transitional and therefore not eternal. Fellow Gambians and friends of the Gambia, time and again, I have always raised serious concern about the tendency for greedy traders and businessmen taking advantage of our sacred feasts to charge exorbitant prices for essential commodities. But this trend continues unabated. I want to assure you all that my government will continue to do whatever is necessary to protect your interests at any cost. As we celebrate the Feast of Tobaski, let us make a commitment not to engage in ungodly acts during the celebrations. Let us celebrate in moderation as our religion teaches us, by not indulging in anything offensive to the Almighty Allah. We should be more generous to our neighbors despite our meager resources, taking cognizance of the fact that Allah has ordained us to share and care for each other at all times. Fellow Gambians and friends of the Gambia, as we anticipate another milestone in our country's nascent political history this month, I would like to take this opportunity to urge all Gambians to work towards a hitch-free election come 24th November 2011. Let us all cherish and endeavor to maintain the peace and stability that our dear motherland has enjoyed over the years by recognizing the rights of others to support any political party of their choice. This is a democratic principle which will not be compromised. Therefore, incitement to violence and chaos will not be tolerated during and after the elections. The peace and stability of this country will be maintained at any cost throughout the elections and after, as they are indispensable pillars of sustainable development leading to greater prosperity. No troublemaker would be spared because it is campaign period. Let me make this point very clear. We are not going to tolerate any trouble during and after the elections. People have a right to choose whom they want to support, and it is nobody's business to try to force them or intimidate them into supporting any political party. The peace and stability of this country would not be sacrificed at the altar of elections. You go and vote, and you go home. You go and campaign, get your message across, and go to your house. But you have no right to intimidate or insult people or beat up anybody. Irrespective of your membership to any party, a troublemaker is a troublemaker. And this country doesn't need troublemakers. Nobody will be spared, no matter what color you wear. If you are a troublemaker, you better stay at home. Fellow Gambians and Muslim brothers and sisters the world over, Islam is a divine and noble religion that enjoins us to be humble, tolerant, and righteous at all times, and submit ourselves to the will of the Almighty Allah. Sadly enough, we are not adhering to these noble principles, and instead, Muslims are slaughtering Muslims the world over as a consequence. This unfortunate phenomenon is being fueled by non-Islamic satanic forces that want to see the downfall of our great religion, Islam. The enemies of Islam range from satanic criminal sadists disguised as Islamic militants and their atheist masters who wish humanity nothing but outrageous violence and untold suffering. And who are their victims? Most of the time, we the Muslims, our Muslim brothers and sisters, are being slaughtered on a daily basis by so-called jihadists who call themselves Islamic militants. But in reality, they are satanic militants. The scourge of violence in this world today are mostly directed at Muslims and perpetrated by so-called Muslims, which is an insult to true Islam and the noble Quran, and must therefore be stopped at any cost. Only true Muslims can put an end to this mayhem by strictly adhering to the teachings of the Holy Quran and the seal of all prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we observe this sacred feast of Eid al-Adha, let us commit ourselves to live decent and noble lives in total submission to the will of the Almighty Allah, knowing that the enemies of Islam shall never win, as they are enemies of Allah. It must be pointed out here that nobody can defeat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how powerful you may be. It is the duty of all Muslims to fight these criminals who go around in the name of Islam, to destroy our noble religion, to smear our noble religion, and give Islam a bad name. Islam has nothing to do with terrorism. Terrorism is a phenomenon that belongs to criminals. It is unacceptable in Islam, and it is also wrong for anybody to associate Islam with terrorism. Fellow Gambians, brothers and sisters, in Islam and humanity, our thoughts and prayers are with all the victims of violence around the world, especially Muslims that are being slaughtered on a daily basis by criminals called jihadists and infidels. Fellow